back with another episode of Pottawattamie County Roots. I'm Todd Studer. If you missed it, we have launched our new show, Mills County Roots, and that is hosted by our own Carlene Hall, a resident of Malvern, and she's talking with area folks, and it's a pretty good show. I think you'll like it. So look for new episodes every day. Coming up today, we're going to learn a little bit more about what goes into an election around Pottawattamie County. And we have brought in Ann Hanusa. She is the Pottawattamie County Auditor. And there's actually a lot to do, even when we're not directly in an election season, meaning right now. However, we have statewide and national elections coming up this fall. They're already going to work on making sure that everything is going to run smoothly. And also, just an introduction, this is the 250th anniversary of the United States. I don't know what that bicentennial was. 200. What's 250? Probably should have looked that up before I jumped on here. But there is some initial plans in place. Nothing to announce yet. But Ann touches just on that subject very briefly in our conversation as well. So Ann Hanusa, the Pottawattamie County Auditor, is today on Pottawattamie County Roots. We have a brand new sponsor to let you know about. It is Primrose Retirement Community. Now, they're located in Council Bluffs, but they serve folks all across the region, and they believe home should be a place of comfort, connection, and care. From personalized support to engaging daily activities, everything they do is designed to help residents live fully and confidently. At Primrose, that's their priority, to put the quality of their residents' care and daily needs at the top of their list each day and every day. It's not just about where you live. It's about how you live. Learn more about life at Primrose Retirement Community online at primroseretirement.com, and be sure to contact Jamie Bush and Primrose in Council Bluffs to discover a place that truly puts people first. Here on Pottawattamie County Roots, we explore the places that make our region home and the people who keep them connected. That is why we are proud to feature Marnie Elkhorn Communications, your local communications provider, serving Marnie, Elkhorn, Walnut, Avoca, and other southwest Iowa towns with high-speed fiber internet, reliable phone service, and TV options built for rural living. With real local support and unlimited data plans, you get speeds up to 1 gig to work, stream, and stay in touch with family and neighbors. Visit metc.net to learn more and get connected today. And families and cemeteries across the region turn to Solid Ground Monument Company for skilled restoration that protects every story etched in stone, now scheduling springtime services. The company provides monument repair, gentle cleaning, full reconstruction, and complete cemetery restoration. For families needing a new memorial, Solid Ground Monument Company will come to you in your time of need to design a tribute that truly honors your loved one. Southwest Iowa's trusted cemetery restoration and monument service is Solid Ground Monument Company. Okay, as we mentioned, today we had an opportunity to visit with the Pottawattamie County Auditor, Ann Hanusa. Thank you so much for coming over today. As we're recording, it's a little bit chilly and breezy out, so thank you for braving the weather to make your way into the studio.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for asking me. I'm glad to be here.
You have obviously just recently, going back to November, we had an election in town. You were very, very busy with that. And I think many people know that the auditor's office is heavily involved with that. What happens after the election is over? What's going on then?
Well, the most recent elections that we had were city and school elections, not federal elections. And so what some people don't understand is that actually the cities and the schools all pay a part of those elections. So we had to do all of the billing for that. We make sure there's a lot of sort of cleanup, so to speak, after an election, making sure that we have to by law keep all of the ballots for 22 months. We have to, maintain a lot of records and just, the usual sort of cleaning up after a big event. And the city and school elections are different from a federal election. And this year, 2026, of course, will be federal election, meaning that we have people running for federal office on the ballot, but also, of course, we have the governor and members of the state house and senate and so forth. So it'll be a little bit of a bigger election, simply because I think more people tend to pay attention to those elections, and so we expect higher turnout.
Yeah, you bring up a good point. And this is something that's always confused me is that the folks that have more to do with our day-to-day lives
Hmm.
are the folks that are in office right here locally.
Yes.
But yet turnout goes way up when it is a statewide or especially a national election. And if
Hmm.
it's a presidential election year,
Hmm.
then turnout is even higher. To me, that seems like it's backwards. That we should have more because on an event or an election that we just had, because these offices affect us every day.
Absolutely. It is a little bit backwards. And I previously served in the Iowa House of Representatives, and I know that people never really paid as much attention to those races as they would to their federal member of Congress. And yet the decisions that I was making day to day in the Iowa House affected their day to day lives, as you said, much, much more than, some of the federal decisions that were made. And yet it it is a little bit backwards, as you say.
Yeah, I think pretty far and wide. Speaking with average folks around the area, if you asked who the Iowa State representative was in Des Moines, probably couldn't answer it.
I wouldn't even want to guess a percentage because, but you're right. You're right.
Yeah. So now at this point, you're getting everything cleaned up. Is that part of it done?
It
Or
is.
so
It
so you've
is.
gotten through that. We're
Mhm.
into a new calendar year
Mhm.
in 2026. So
Mhm.
obviously, you have staff, you have people working in your office, you've got
Mhm.
folks that are continually keeping things running. So
Mhm.
what's happening now?
Well, elections is just one part of
Hmm.
what the auditor's office does. So to stay with that for a minute, we are now basically prepping for. So we have a primary in June 2nd,
Hmm.
and that will include all the governor, U.S. Senate, U.S. House, State Senate, county supervisors, those races, and so we are uh, getting those letters. So we have about 500 people who are precinct election officials. Those people who, when you go to the poll to vote on election day, they help you with the ballot. They register you. They make
Hmm.
sure that you're in the right place and registered and all. And so we're reaching out. In fact, I think we just sent a mailing out a couple of days ago to them asking, "Are you willing to serve?" In the June primary, and that whole process starts now, lining up locations so that we can, um, hold precinct,
Hmm.
elections or hold the elections in every precinct, and then every 2 years we need to comply with the Americans with Disabilities Act and go and do a walkthrough of all of our facilities to make sure that they are still compliant with that. Uh, with the American ADA, with the Americans with Disabilities Act. So there's a lot of work prep work that has to be done, and then of course eventually the filing deadline will come for people, and then we'll start working on the ballot and what the ballots look like. And um, there's numerous ballots for each polling site, and so there's a lot of prep work that has to be done before you get to election day.
With polling sites, I think, well, 3 years ago, I voted in one location, and uh, the last election was in a different one. So I know that it had changed. I hadn't moved. Now, I don't know whether the polling site stayed the same and you just had to readjust where people were going just for logistics sakes, or, I mean, how often does a polling place completely fall off and then you have to go find another one?
Well, sometimes the location becomes unavailable.
Hmm.
So, whether we might be using a church, and a church may say, we're doing a massive renovation of,
Hmm.
our area, and we just simply can't accommodate you. And so that's why we send these letters out before every election and say, here are the dates for the primary, for the general. We appreciate your having helped us before. Are you able to accommodate us this time? And because it does change from time to time, as I say, buildings get renovated, or maybe they just don't have the room anymore, or perhaps somebody says, no, we just don't want to have that obligation this time. But people have been very, very generous, and we try to stay out of schools. Um, in fact, I don't think we're using any schools at this point, just to reduce
Hmm.
the traffic and the the process to interrupt. We don't want to interrupt a regular school day. So
Yeah, and well, and oftentimes there's activities going on
absolutely.
on that
Right.
night, and
Right.
because you're in the fall and sports is still happening, and there
Hmm.
might be show choir, might be a lot of different things
Hmm.
happening. So that's
And
smart.
sometimes
Yeah,
parking is a challenge
yeah,
for
that's true.
especially
Yeah,
especially elementary schools who are which are typically in neighborhoods, and parking isn't always readily available.
yeah. Usually there's parking for the teachers, but
Right.
you don't have to worry about students
Right.
driving
Right.
back and
Right.
forth.
Exactly.
You also get a lot of volunteers that have to work these polling sites, and it has been my experience when I talk to them, they take a lot of pride in this.
Hmm.
And so you get folks coming back election after election to be able to
Hmm.
help out with that. Are you always in the recruiting stage of finding new volunteers for
Well,
that?
absolutely, because sometimes people age out, I guess, or they just say to this, you know what, I've done my
Done my time.
time. I'm gonna step aside, or they move, or they just a job
Right.
changes or something, and they just so we're always looking for people who are willing to spend that day on election day, helping their fellow citizens vote. And in fact, I just spoke with a couple of them actually last evening, one of whom has worked for us for over 30 years and takes great pride in it.
Yeah.
And so I actually went out during the primary and during the general in November. I went to all 40 of our polling sites across the county, just simply to thank our precinct election workers, because um, we couldn't do democracy without them. We couldn't do our elections without those local citizens who are willing to say, "I'll take my time to help other people vote on this day." And so I felt it was important to express my thanks as county auditor to them for the service that they give to all of us. So,
Something I've always been curious about is you mentioned the number of polling places. We have 40 around the county.
40 in the county. Yeah.
Is that based on where you put a polling place? Is it based on population? So you have to have one in a certain area just because of how many people there are?
Well, we have 40 precincts in Pottawattamie County, and so we yes, it is. It's
Yeah.
it's it's based on population. Yeah.
So if obviously many more in the area in Council Bluffs, and I know those cards go out. Sometimes we can forget. We just, oh, it's just junk mail and we don't pay any attention
Mhm.
to it, but we really probably should. And I also know though that that information is out there online too, because I've used it. That where am I voting? And
Right.
I can go look it up.
You can go to the Secretary of State's
Right.
office, and it's a very easy process. You put in your address, and they'll tell you which precinct number. They'll also tell you who is your state senator, who is your state, representative. So if people want to vote, it's a there are many
Yeah.
easy avenues for them to be able to do that.
You have spent a large part of your career in public service, whether
Hmm.
it be elective office or appointed. And what sent you down that path with your career?
My very first job was actually at the National Archives in Washington, D.C., and from there, I went to the first Bush White House, the George H.W. Bush White House, and then on and on from there. But um, I have been a public servant all my life, and I enjoy. There's a satisfaction that comes from helping the public, from helping solve problems, from um, and I don't know. I think it gets in your blood, and it's kind of hard to get out.
I think that could be true for a lot of things. It was true for my career. Once I started radio, I
Mhm.
realized, okay, this is it for me.
Mhm.
And now with what I'm doing is kind of an offshoot of that, but it's not completely foreign. I didn't make a U-turn. We're still talking into microphones. I just have a camera pointed at me.
Sure. Right.
But
Right.
so I'm as a younger person when you get involved, then that's kind of where that is established in a person, I think, regardless of what their career is. If they find, uh, if it feeds their soul, then they want to keep going back to it. It
Mhm.
just kind of
You get a
settles in.
taste of it.
Yeah,
Sometimes it's you realize that's where your niche is, and then sometimes you get a taste of it and say, that's
but
that's
I
not
think
what
that's
I
good
want.
too. I think that's good too
Right.
because we want the people there that do get fed by it.
Mhm.
Because listen, there's ups and downs with regardless of what it is that you do. So if
Sure.
you have an overwhelming why you do something, it gets you through the peaks and valleys.
Mhm.
So, and again, I think that translates to just about any career
Right.
that's out there. I know that we don't have any specific things to talk about yet, but I do know that you're going to start working on the 250th celebration. We'll be doing some stuff here locally in the county,
Hmm.
but and I hope that when things come out, you let us know so we can help you make the announcements about that.
Well,
But
right. I
yeah,
mean,
it's a
this
process.
is
Yeah,
the 250th year of our country, which is a big
it
deal.
is. Yes.
And we, because we are in charge of all elections in Pottawattamie County, there's the natural tie that without our elections, we don't have our democracy. And so we are looking at some ways that we can help the community and help the public and or help the county rather. Celebrate that because it is a big deal, and we we should honor the um, the generations that have come before us that have helped to preserve that this constitutional republic that we have, and not to forget our veterans who have fought and died to preserve the rights that we enjoy, and chief among them the right to vote. So
I'm hoping that we see through the communities. I was how old was I? 7 years old in 1976 when we did the bicentennial,
mm-hmm,
and so I would have been yeah, I would have turned 8 later that year. And my little town of 125 people
mm-hmm,
had a parade,
yeah,
and it was a big deal. We had there was celebrations going on all weekend
mm-hmm,
of different events that were happening. My mother planted red, white, and blue flowers
yep,
out in the yard.
right,
All of these different and this was just my tiny little town up in Pocahontas County where I
mm-hmm.
grew up. I'm hoping that we see that again this year for 250, and we see organizations and communities get together and do that same kind of thing because I have really strong memories and positive memories from that time.
Mm-hmm. I think sometimes eh, we get caught up in the divide, and we get caught up in the I'm this party and you're that party, or I don't like this view and I can't like you because you have this
Yeah.
opposing view. And I think we lose sight of the fact that at the end of the day, we're all Americans. And we love our country, and while we don't have a perfect system of government, it's probably the best one in the world in terms of if you want to be involved in your government, you can be involved in your government. If you want to run for office, you can run for office. There isn't a caste system. There's not a well, you can you're eligible to run, but you're not. No, anyone can run. Anyone can serve. Anyone can be a part of the government, and that's a very unique, wonderful thing that I think sometimes we take for granted. And so I hope that we do. I'm sure we will, and I know we
Mhm.
will. And I remember 1976 as well, and the huge parade that we had here in Council Bluffs, and churches were involved, and churches had special church services, and organizations, stepped up, and so I'm sure. I look forward to people being excited again about this anniversary, and really looking at not what divides us, but what brings us together, and what has brought us together for 250 years.
Yeah, and I'll step on my soapbox for 30 seconds and then step back off again. That agreeing with someone about one policy doesn't mean you agree with them about everything. So it's okay to
Mhm.
say I agree with that, even though they might be in the
It
other
doesn't
side of the
make them a
party.
bad
And
person, or
then
someone that
exactly, yeah,
you need to hate because you disagree with them on one issue.
yes,
And it never hurts to listen to someone.
I'm optimistic that we will get back there
I hope
again,
so.
and
Yeah.
because that's where we need to be.
Well, we can each
Yeah.
do our part in trying to take that extra time to listen to someone with whom we don't agree, and then if we each do that, guess what? You make big changes. So.
One piece at a time.
Hmm.
Yep. I have a friend of mine that he said, you just keep putting pennies in the jar, and eventually that jar is going to fill up, and
Right.
you've got something.
Right.
So even though you can't tell a huge difference from one thing, all those things will add up. I'm having a therapy session here now. So, well, listen, Mary Ann Hanusa, thank you for everything that you've done. I know that since first coming to Council Bluffs back in 2000, that was 26 years ago now.
Hmm.
I've seen your name since the beginning out there, and in one form or another. and grateful for your willingness to step up and make a career out of this and to help keep everything rolling the way that it should. I mean, the elections are a huge part of what happens, and you're making sure that those things run smoothly. So I'm grateful for you. Thank you for the time of coming over and talking with
Oh,
us today.
absolutely.
And anything else comes up at any point, and you say, "Hey, we'd like to get some word out." I hope you keep us in mind, and we'd love to have you come back.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it. I'd love to come back.
Be sure to start your day right at Brood Awakening in Avoca, open Monday through Saturday, always serving something fresh. Enjoy bagels daily, weekly specials that you're not going to find on the menu, and warm seasonal soups every Tuesday and Wednesday. And then on Wednesdays and Thursdays, grab a hot breakfast sandwich. Treat yourself to something sweet every Friday. If you're hosting a meeting or gathering, Brood Awakening has a private room ready for your group. It's free to use if you don't need it all to yourself. So stop in for great coffee, good food, and a friendly hometown atmosphere at Brood Awakening in Avoca. HR Helix delivers fractional HR leadership and strategic people solutions for professional firms across our region, including Southwest Iowa. Founded by Amy Luckenbill, HR Helix helps growing organizations that have outgrown do-it-yourself HR, but don't need a full-time executive. From compliance and culture to performance and structure, HR Helix turns complex HR challenges into clear, confident action. Their approach is simple, old school smart, next gen savvy. So if you're ready for better systems, stronger teams, and leadership support that fits, visit hrhelix.com. And when emergencies happen, confidence saves lives. Ready Responders 130 provides professional CPR training for individuals, businesses, and community groups. So you know exactly what to do when it matters most. With flexible scheduling, up-to-date information, and dedicated instructors, you get hands-on skills that prepare you for real-world situations. At work, at home, or out in the community, Ready Responders 130 gives you the tools to act fast and act smart. Be prepared. Be confident. Visit ReadyResponders130.com. Just to give you a little peek behind the curtain, I just had to sneeze for the last 2 minutes, and I managed to hold it back. How about that? Listen, we are launching into a brand new week. I hope yours launches well. I know I'm off to a great start, and I am looking forward to just getting out, meeting a lot of new folks, getting a lot of new interviews done, and bringing them to you here on Pottawattamie County Roots. My name's Todd Studer, and we'll see you back here tomorrow morning.